Hello, I'm Shelly Kramer, Principal Analyst at Futurum Research, and welcome to this episode of Live from the Show Floor. Today, I am at a Tanium event, Tanium Converge, here in Austin, Texas, and I am so thrilled to be able to introduce my guest today, Anil Nomula, and he is with Genpact. Anil is an Associate Vice President and Global Enterprise Architect at Genpact. Welcome.
Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I got a chance to see your presentation on the keynotes this morning, and it was absolutely fantastic. I loved the insights that you shared.
Thank you.
So what I want to talk about today is, we have navigated over the course of the last couple of years, obviously, a global pandemic that has required many, many rapid shifts for organizations and thinking about, from an IT standpoint, thinking about things that we didn't have to think about before, right? So what I would love to hear from you is, talk with me a little bit, if you would, about some of the challenges that IT teams have had to navigate and kind of how you've been perplexed by those things.
Oh yeah, so pandemic was not an easy time. Genpact is a very large organization. We have 75 offices globally. We operate out of 25 plus countries around the world, 100,000 employees. So we had to mobilize all of that workforce to kind of go work from home. It was not an easy challenge.
Oh no.
I remember there were days where I only slept for like a couple of days in a week.
Yeah.
And it was really, really challenging to kind of get all of that done. Part of the problem was, until the pandemic, many organizations like Genpact were relying on some legacy tools and technologies.
Absolutely.
And when we put them to test, like when we made them a little more internet facing and try to manage some endpoints, try to do some pilots and everything else, they did not work as expected.
Right.
So the biggest challenge of mobilizing all of that workforce home was we had to first set up all of that remote technology layer first, like do a very quick POC pilot in a matter of like days, and then we had to start moving and migrating people home. So it was a really challenging time. It was also a good time. So typically, some of the technology we set up would take about 4 to 6 weeks.
Right. We learned to do things very quickly.
And the bad part about that is now my leaders and my
expect everything.
Expect it every time with
Isn't that always the way it works, right?
Absolutely.
No, and I think that, when you think about shifting a distributed workforce and you think about shifting, there are many, many nuances, but I think the thing that most ordinary average people and business leaders don't think about is the most important thing.
Right.
Security.
Correct.
And so you have all these distributed endpoints, and a lot of times too, my experience, we did this rapid shift, right? We pivoted to getting people set up to work from home. Did you find that sometimes there were solutions that were being used that were just like, this makes me very nervous, but we're going to go with this for now?
Yeah.
Or, that's sleepless nights for security people, for sure.
Absolutely. Everything was nerve-wracking again during the pandemic and during that whole migration we were doing. Genpact is a managed services company. We are like 700 companies in one company because of that. And while we were setting up all of this, while we were migrating a lot of those users home, we were also interfacing with external auditors and auditors from our customers and everything else. So it was very challenging. So while we were setting up and we were like doing all of this validation, we had somebody externally also validating us. So it was very complicated.
Stress-free.
Absolutely not.
Oh my gosh. So, I think to me, this goes without saying, but talk a little bit about endpoint security and why it is just so critically important.
Yeah, so I am traditionally from an operations and engineering background. Unlike other people at this event, I'm not part of core security team, but a lot of what I've been doing on the operations side is primarily security.
Right.
Like pushing policies down to the endpoint, making sure our next-gen antivirus agents and everything else are installed properly and penetrated well into the organization and everything else. It is extremely critical for operations to have that security view, and for security in general is like a very important aspect of how we run IT in the organization.
Right.
Right. So with all of these people working from home, the notion of perimeter uh, was completely eliminated. What this meant was anybody who could have like a compromised device in their home could really
Impact the whole
impact the
organization.
whole organization, or at least one person who was working at home, and that person could have sensitive data or whatever going on that endpoint, right? So there were a lot of sleepless nights working through making sure our security tools are well penetrated, working okay on the endpoints, our policy postures are working fine, passing those audits that I talked about earlier, and everything else. So all of that put together, we did more security work than the security guys for a short amount of time.
We won't tell them that. So what I'd love to know more about is your relationship with Tanium and how you were able to leverage Tanium to help accomplish what it is you wanted to accomplish.
Oh, Tanium was a big blessing in disguise. Prior to the pandemic, most of our, like almost 90% of our workforce was working out of the office. We bought Tanium for its endpoint visibility, how you could like get results faster. And when you have machines concentrated in one place, you get results a lot faster. We did not think Tanium was going to be effective when people went home, but we found that was not true. So again, I talked about some of the legacy technologies we were banking on.
Right.
We tried those out, did not work. We tried some of the newer stuff too, like internet-facing SCCM as an example. That did not do the trick for us either. So finally, we used Tanium and Tanium zone server capability and everything else to start sending these people home. And we didn't have to do anything. A lot of that architecture was already there. All of the machines started talking to Tanium. We started taking actions based on what we were seeing on the endpoints and setting up automation routines to manage any configuration drifts, anything funky we see on the endpoint. We were using Tanium heavily to kind of fix all of that.
So it happened really quickly. It seems
Very
like that's a key part of the value proposition there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
It's a very reliable platform overall. We've been a Tanium customer for a little over 4.5 years. And again, if we have used it that long, then something is working in the platform for us.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending time with me today and sharing your brilliant gray matter. I appreciate it. And so for our audience, thanks for hanging out with us. It's been terrific, and we'll talk with you again.
Thank you so much, Shelly.